It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 2nd of December. This is the C block, the Charlie block. John, I'm waiting for your comment because you always make comments about my production skills. Did you hear the St. Charles Convention of Veterans?
Yeah, the AI song. That's a pretty good use of it, Brad. I like the jingle. That's good. When December starts, I think about two important things. I think about you welcoming Jack Frost on for his wacky holiday puns, and I think about you calling Mark McCluskey to wish him a happy birthday. Those are the two December staples.
I sent him a birthday greeting the other day. Oh, you know what? John, I just thought of something. Hold on a minute. I'm going to run in the other studio. Will you talk for like 45 seconds so I can run down the hall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So while we filibuster, it's a good time to point out that Holiday Traditions takes place on Main Street in St. Charles. Now, personally, I've gone there and had a rip-roaring time. You think, why would I want to go somewhere and park and walk down a public street? And if you think that, you might be thinking about, I don't know, St. Louis City and the dangers you would face risking life and limb to take a stroll down city streets. But this is St. Charles County. You'll park at a clean place that's generally not tainted by cannabis smoke. You'll park for free, if I recall correctly, and you'll be around a number of civilized people. Yes, you can be in a civilized crowd, crowded crowd, boy, that's redundant, in the evening time, and you can see some eggnog, which I think is disgusting, some cider, some smoky chestnuts, pause, and other Christmas extravaganzas from down. Oh, and should I mention carolers and carriage rides? That's right. It's Christmas Traditions down on Main Street, St. Charles. And if you want to hear an AI jingle that's above average for a Brad Hildebrand production, continue listening to either Westplex Talk 104.5 FM or Westplex 107.1, and you will hear the Christmas Traditions jingle.
And by the way, stay classy, Westplex. Never mind.
Are you running that promo too?
No. Okay. The reason I had to go down the hall was, you know what that is, John?
Yeah. Are you going to give your Salvation Army pitch?
That is my official Salvation Army bell. And actually, I've got several of them. A big one, which they gave me, which has my name inscribed on it as a nice little thank you thing that I did for work I did for them. But the bell ringers are out there. My father, a World War II veteran, and
what did he tell you about the difference between the Salvation Army and the Red Cross, Brad? What's the difference?
When I was doing a lot of presentations for the Salvation Army, they said, Brad, we know what your father said, but please don't say that because we don't want to be known as the people who are being the naysayers. My dad looked at me one day and said, when I was in World War II, the Salvation Army would give you the shirt off their back. They didn't charge you for anything. Coffee was always free. He says, those American Red Cross people, they charged you for coffee. They charged you for everything. And he looked me square in the eye. He says, don't you ever give any money to the American Red Cross. If you're going to give money, give it to the Salvation Army. So those words have stuck with me. My dad has been gone.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, Brad, but you always leave out the part where your mom chimed in from the next room.
You know what's wrong with the Red Cross? It's run by men. If women ran it, it would be much better.
Picture young Brad at a restaurant, and a poor server or line cook makes a mistake. The food's wrong. What does Brad's mom say?
If you know what's wrong, you notice there's a bunch of men here. If women ran it, it would be better.
Brad's military hero father, sadly henpecked after battle, sits quietly, not choosing to fight. Young Brad sits and starts navel gazing. What did we do as men to deserve this henpeckery? And why do you think Brad is the way he is today? Brad, continue.
I grew up with this strong-willed mother.
Yeah, most would call her a henpecker. Go ahead, Brad.
It's way ahead of her time. She was women's lib before women's lib was women's lib.
Hey, you know what? She revolutionized the way you put books on shelves at a junior high library. Go ahead.
Yes. And the sad part of it was she's right, because look at the situation now. Look at the situation when my mom was still teaching. There were no women principals, nor women superintendents, nor women anything past a department chairperson. My mom used to always lament she could never be anything more than a department chairperson. And now you see most of the schools are run by women. Most of them are principals are women. And matter of fact, we talked about this recently. That guy said, I read that interesting article. He said that the problem with a conduct in school is because back in the day, and I can identify this when I read that article. My principal at Kirby Junior High, the assistant principal, was Mr. Badger. And Mr. Badger, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was my principal as well.
Was he really? Interesting.
Yeah, I was once dispatched to Mr. Badger's office. That's a different story. Yeah, he was our principal at Kirby Junior High, yeah.
Right, okay. Mr. Badger used to stand in the rotunda, and John knows what I'm talking about well because he went to Kirby Junior High, and he used to stand there during class breaks with a paddle in his hand that he personally crafted in the shop class. He told the story about, and it had holes drilled in it, like 3/4 to 1 inch holes drilled in it. And the reason for that was it cut down on the air resistance when he took a swing at it. So the paddle would move quicker through the air because instead of him pushing the air around the outside edges of the paddle, the air would just go through the holes. And when it impacted your gluteus maximus, it would increase the amount of pain you received from being paddled. And
there's actually a recreation of that on some popular websites. But thanks to Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, you can't access them now without going through a VPN. Brad, you were making a point about your latest AI song. Oh, no, you were making a point about you're going to be doing bell ringing. Where are you going to be doing it, Brad?
I'm not. I'm just essentially saying that there's still time for you to volunteer if you want to bell ring and if you still want to do that. But more importantly, when you go buy the kettles, just drop some cash in there. I know a lot of people don't kick cash.
Do people
anymore.
have cash anymore, Brad?
Well, most of the kettles now have a QR code where you can, snap the QR code and donate money. And the thing that's cool about the Salvation Army is the money stays local. And even to the point where it stays local, if you drop your money into a Salvation Army kettle in St. Charles County, that money stays in St. Charles County, and it helps fund their operation, their food kitchen down in downtown St. Charles, and also their really cool place out there in O'Fallon, down the street from one of my favorite eateries, Ethel's, and I've been there in a while. I need to go there. But that's what it does. And I told the story, and I've still taken heat on this. Matter of fact, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, I had a woman who called me up because she found my picture on Facebook. She purposely called me up to read me out about the fact that she found a picture I posted on Facebook, I don't know, 5-6 years ago with me and Mike Lindell. And it was me and Mike Lindell out at the Salvation Army thrift shop on Harvester Road out in St. Charles. And I've told the story before. This is a Dedham Tops things. I'll tell it again. Mike Lindell personally flew into St. Louis to help out with the grand opening for this. This is the only thing he did. He wasn't in town to promote a book or anything like that. Flew his Falcon jet, which probably cost him, I don't know how many, tens of $1,000s just for the gas to go back and forth between Minneapolis and St. Louis. Flew into town, donated a wall full of his products. He had his pillows and his sheets and all that kind of stuff, donated them to the point where, and they were selling at half off retail price. People were snapping them up left and right, and 100% of the money went to Salvation Army. I interviewed him, and he told me up front that if you know him, he had a very serious drug problem, and he was also, I believe, an alcoholic. He was a druggie and alkie as well, too. And he talked about the fact that at one point in time, the Salvation Army played a part in his recovery. I have a soft spot in my heart for people who are alcoholics. It may sound weird, but when somebody tells me they're an alcoholic, and I have more respect for them because of the fact that a lot of times they'll tell the story. I've not had a drink in 10 years. And they'll tell the story about how it destroyed their life, how, their marriage fell apart, blah, 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 blah. And the same with him. And he went on to, be a very successful. But once again, he gets involved with Trump. I guess has your buddy, the guy who bought, what's the voting system company? Who was that again now? What was you? I can't remember these names.
Scott Leindecker.
Yes.
And the name of the company is Liberty Vote.
Did he release Mike Lindell?
He did not.
He did not. So he's still going after Mike Lindell. Is that still an active case then?
I believe, I haven't checked on it in a while, but I believe that Lindell is still in the crosshairs, so to speak. Or some would say probably being held accountable, I guess. Some would say.
And the sad part of that is I know a lot of people hate Mike Lindell, but to the point where I don't think his company's doing very well. He's not advertising on radio anymore, and somebody's told me that part of the reason he's not advertising is because he didn't pay his bills near the end, so all the radio stations cut him off. So I sort of feel sorry for the guy, you know? I mean, you know, he got swept up into the Trump thing with Rudy Giuliani and all those other people, but I don't know, bizarre, weird stuff.
I think he's going out of business because he spends his time flying around to Salvation Armies and chatting with hobos.
Hobos meaning me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think when you're hanging out off Harvester Road with Brad Hildebrand, I think you have nowhere to go but up.
Okay, the big controversy, and if you listen to our top of the hour newscast about 52 minutes or so ago, right here on Westplex Talk 104.5, the big story is still the secondary attack on the drug guys, the drug boat guys. John, do you want to chime in on this? Do you have any opinion on this? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't have any opinion. I will say that folks can go to johncombest.com today, and they can hear both Eric Schmidt, our junior U.S. Senator, and Congressman Eric Burleson talking about it. And to be fair, I haven't explored the issue deeply, Brad. I don't really have a strong feeling about it.
Well, the story is that they're blowing up these drug boats. And first off, I have a problem with that to begin with. I don't think that's necessarily the right thing. Hold on a minute. I got a cough here.
Do you think that what we were doing before was working?
Well, I do think it is working because of the fact that, you know, think about it. I think they're up to like 21 or 22 drug boats they blew up. But the controversy...
No, I'm saying what we were doing before.
Oh, no.
Like before Trump. Do you think we should bring them in and give them like a cold beverage and give them a neck massage and then tell them to not do it? Like, was that working?
Obviously not. It's just like, who's our favorite guy? What was his name? Alejandros Mayorkas, whatever his name was. And
yeah, about immigration. But let's get back to Venezuela. What do you think, Brad?
They blew up one of the drug boats, and supposedly there were some survivors. And nobody's saying who it is. Now they're saying it was an admiral that said, killed the survivors. He didn't say that in so many words, but they said second attack. So they were like holding on to some pieces of the drug boat, and they were still alive. So I don't know if they shot them with a drone or they had aircraft that were shooting missiles at them. They blew them up a second time and killed them. And I'm thinking to myself, and there are people going, well, that's against the Geneva Convention, blah, 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 blah. Well, isn't it against laws to traffic drugs from Venezuela into the United States? Isn't it against the laws to import all this lethal drug stuff into our country?
Yeah, and because you have to get a license from one of the Missouri marijuana companies. Right. Those are the drugs that are okay. So there's drugs that are okay, and there's a process that's okay, but then there's a process that's not okay.
You know, if you read anything on any kind of wars, if you go back to Vietnam, which I almost ended up in Vietnam, there's a whole story behind that. I almost got drafted.
Good thing you're a gimp and have bad eyesight.
Thanks, John.
Brad, what are most wars? What are they fought over?
Territory, John. Territory. That's
are
what
they really?
Yes, it's territory. John's making fun of me this morning. War is hell. And I mean, my dad had stories which he would never tell. My dad told me a story one time. I've never told this on the air. My dad told me a story that, you know, when he was in his campaign and he was, you know, at the front lines moving toward Germany, that at one point in time they captured a large number of German prisoners. And my dad told me the story about how he was in his tent. He was going to clean his rifle, and he picked up the rifle, and apparently either he picked it up the wrong way or grabbed the trigger or something like that, and he fired. And it fired toward where the German soldiers were being held. So he runs out of his tent, and he runs over to the area where they're not a stockade, but I think he said they were in an area that was like lined with barbed wire. They had like fence posts up, and they had barbed wire stuck, and that's where all the German soldiers were. And he's going there saying, and he didn't speak German, and one of the German prisoners, because he told me the story, one of the German prisoners who spoke English said, because my dad was going, anybody hurt, and because they heard the gunshot, and the German prisoner translated in German, whatever it was, blah, 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 and nobody was shot, so the bullet didn't hit anybody. So my dad admitted that. I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's interesting.
What a great story. Brad, can you give us, with the last minute that we have together, a medical update?
There's a funny story behind this, that I have this crazy gallbladder thing, and my surgeon who is trying to schedule me says he does Mondays and Thursdays, and Mondays are pretty much all taken up, and he's got Thursdays available. And I said to him, first off, a couple weeks ago, I said, I'll take Thanksgiving Day. And he says, nope, not going to do Thanksgiving Day. And I said, I'll take Christmas.
Why, Brad, why would he work on Thanksgiving?
Hey, John, you go to the hospital on
Brad,
Thanksgiving.
come on.
There's people
you
there
don't
working.
Need to give I'd work every day if I could. Okay, just spare us that. So get to the point.
I got to get my surgery, and I got to be pretty quick.
Are you really going to get it done? That's surprising to me. Aren't you going to find an excuse to not help yourself?
I've been in the hospital too many times this year. I just got to get it done. I mean,
that's surprising, Brad. That's awesome. So what's the status of it? Are you going to go in next week?
I still don't have a scheduled date. I'm still trying to get scheduled. I mean, I'm like,
you get scheduled as soon as this Thursday?
No, because of the fact that I've got to be off my one medication for 5 days. So in other words, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try for next Thursday, and I will stop taking my medication over the weekend, this coming weekend, and hopefully I'll be ready to go next Thursday. So I feel bad that we missed a lot of shows. I missed yesterday. We missed we took off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week. But then you
had to excavate, Brad. You had to get in another fight with a farmer.
And I haven't heard from him. So,
and you're still here. So I'm guessing that no one ran over you with a competing bulldozer.
No, with a combine. That's what they run over me with.
Oh, okay, yeah, they would use
or a John Deere 4500, one of the two. So yeah, I'm still alive, and I assume that they have seen my handiwork, and they're probably not happy. Okay, John, we're overdue. Say goodbye.
See you tomorrow, Brad.